Listen.
Welcome to Real Deal, Real Deal, Real Deal, Real Deal, Real Deal. Joining me today are the happy pair. Welcome to Real Deal. Welcome to Real Deal. I am Brian Rosen. We are live here at London Real World headquarters to talk about education first and why our schools could be closing down again due to test and trace failures. And we are now risking what some people are calling a quote unquote lost generation of young people who have no direction, who fear never being able to have their dream jobs. This is something that concerns me a lot, and it's something that's one of my major policies as your next mayor of London. And I want to talk about this today because I have young children, and education has always been something really important in my family, and it's something that's very important to me. As Nelson Mandela once said, education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world, and I want to talk about that today. I know a lot of you are joining me live, and I really appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to be going to your questions in real time and talking to you and getting your feedback. If you watch this later, please leave your comments below, and I'm going to try to reply to as many as I can. But I've got questions for you. Before we get started, tell me, how would another school lockdown affect you? How would a school lockdown affect you? Could be as a parent, could be as a child, could be as a business that relies on these people in your local neighborhood to do business with you. Second thing I want to know, what do you think of our current test and trace system? No matter what city you're in, how is that working out? Also, how can we prevent creating a lost generation of young people that don't believe in their future, that don't think there is a future, that can't even think of going to a university or going to a job at this point? And finally, answer this question now. Do you think we need better leadership? And again, we're streaming live on all sorts of platforms. I'm getting all the comments coming into me. And this is a sixth in a series of shows that I've been going through to try to examine the community. And I've spoken to entrepreneurs, I've spoken to leaders in the arts, I've spoken to people in the elderly care industry, I've spoken to taxi drivers, former police officers, and I'm trying to figure out what we can do to make London a world-class city once again. I love this city. I've lived here for over 20 years. I've been a British citizen for 13 years. And for London Real, which has its 9th anniversary today, by the way, on October 23rd in 2011, I published the first episode of London Real. You can go watch it on YouTube right now. The lighting isn't the best, my hair isn't the best, and my wardrobe isn't the best, but I was out there trying to bring education to people around the world, and we've been doing it for 9 years. And so this is something that's really close to my heart because I think we can all educate ourselves at any age, but I really want to think about what's happening now with our youth. And so let's jump into this. Education has always been important to me, but that's because of my family. My family comes from generations of people that have always valued education. And I dug out some old pictures that you can see on screen here. And the black and white photo is my grandma and grandpa Benedict. That's my mother's side of the family. And this is their wedding day, and they are surrounded by their parents. This wedding, I think, took place in Arizona. And my grandmother was from Chicago. My grandpa was a cattleman in Arizona. And many of my generations of families were farmers and cattlemen. And this is what you did in America in the 1700s and 1800s is you went west and you had to make your living as an entrepreneur. But one of the things that made my family very different is very early on, they valued higher education. And so even though my grandpa Benedict was a cattleman, he got an undergraduate degree in agriculture and in animal husbandry, so he could really understand the science behind that. And even though my grandpa Rose was a potato and barley farmer in Colorado, and I used to visit him, and he used to take me out as a kid, and we used to dig up potatoes, and man, it was hard work. He showed me hard work. Even though he did that, he also had a degree in agriculture, and both of my grandparents used those degrees to actually make their business better. My grandpa Benedict was one of the leading cattlemen using science when it came to his feedlots, exactly what to feed the cows when in their cycle to get the best yield. And my grandpa Rose was always using science and technology to run his farm better. He used CB radios, was one of the first technologies he embraced, all sorts of ways to test and track the weather and the rainfall. And so they really embraced this early on. And my mom told me a story recently when I was in San Diego I was filming our movie Reconnect. And she said female education was always stressed in our family. And I was like, wow, that makes sense because my grandmother was educated, my mother was educated, my sister was educated. And she said because I think it was my great grandfather's brother was thrown from a horse and he died. He hit his head and he died. And he left a widow behind with no means to provide for her family. And so what she did is she went to school and got a degree in teaching. And from then on, the Benedict and Rose families always made sure that not only male, but female education was stressed. So this is something super important to me, and you'll see some other pictures here alongside the black and white photo of my grandma and grandpa Benedict. You see my dad there looking pretty dapper in his 1960s suit, and he is graduating from Caltech. And what you saw in my families is that they started off in agricultural state schools, University of Arizona, and then we moved on as we got more and more generations of schooling, we started going to better schools. So my dad graduated from Caltech, the California Institute of Technology. My dad's a super smart guy, learned electrical engineering and computer science. And then they pushed it on to me. So you see a picture of me. That's me doing a science fair project when I was a kid. I was like 12 years old. And you can see me working on this crazy apparatus with this face mask. And I was building basically a vacuum tube piece there, and you saw me graduating from MIT with a degree I was really proud of. And it continues. You really see that education is important in my family, and my son Caden right now is 4 years old, and he is in school himself. And so it's important that we push education. It's something that's very important in my family and in generations, and I want to talk about it, and it's going to be always something that's part of my policies and for my life. And just as a story, my teenage daughter is in school right now, and she was getting a little stressed out recently about how much college would cost. And she said, I'm worried that you're paying too much for my current school and my future school. And I said, the Rose family always invests in education. Always, because that's the best return on investment I think you can give any child out there. So this is super important for me. And for the past 9 years, we have been educating the world when it comes to London Real, and we also have London Real Academy where we've graduated 5,000 students in over 107 countries. So this is something that's in my DNA, it's in my blood, it's in my veins. It comes from hundreds of years of generations of my family before me. And that's why I want to talk about this today, because what we're seeing right now in the UK, it's a travesty. And the first thing I want to talk about is that the test and trace failures are closing down our schools. So the test and trace failures, as in the lack of availability of COVID tests, is really hurting our education system. And the General Secretary of the NAHT, which is the National Association of Head Teachers, Paul Whiteman, recently commented that, quote, tests need to be readily available for everyone so that pupils and staff who test negative can get back into school quickly. He went on to say the government assured us that this would be ready, but at the first sign of stress, it seems to be falling over. And he finished, this will put the successful and sustainable return of schools at serious risk. And so they went on to survey 736 school leaders by the Leadership Union, and they found these stats. And I want to show you this on screen. And this is what's quite alarming to me. Currently, 82% of schools have children that are currently absent because they cannot get a test. 82% of our schools have absent children because of this. But it goes on further. 45% report staff are currently not at work because they cannot get a test. Again, the government failures is having a massive impact on our education system. And if you go even further, you find out that only 14% have had confirmed cases of COVID-19 in their schools. So again, here you see a massively disproportionate response to the virus. We have a small number of actual confirmed cases, and yet most of our schools and many of our leaders and teachers cannot report to school because they can't get the tests they need in a timely fashion. This is a massive failure by our government, and it's causing a disproportionate response to this virus because they are not able to get us the science that we need. And this is what I've been talking about for the past few months. And it's really affecting our schools. It's affecting our education system, and it's affecting and turning our kids into what we're calling a lost generation. And if you go even further, Jeff Barton, who's our General Secretary of the Association of School and College Leaders, warned, quote, Chaos is undermining the efforts to keep schools open, with more than 200 head teachers reporting delays in getting tests. This is very serious. And when you go even further, Kevin Courtney, who's the Joint Secretary of the National Education Union, said the government needed to do more. He said, quote, "Heads have told me they find it extremely frustrating because they have made their schools COVID secure, but then they find out it's been undone by the lack of tests." And when you actually go into the Department for Education, you ask them to find out what is actually going on. Unfortunately, they've been reticent to provide the numbers of confirmed COVID-19 cases among school pupils, saying, quote, "It won't provide a running commentary." So again, our government is not providing us the tests, which means our schools are suffering. We've got 82% of the schools now that are currently have students that are absent. 45% of staff currently not at work because they can't get a test. This is the government's failures, and it's now eating into our education. It's affecting our students. And again, we see a lack of leadership with the test and trace system. We see a disproportionate response to the virus because we're shutting down schools and holding back teachers when a small percentage of students are testing positive. And finally, we're seeing a complete lack of science-based decision-making because we cannot get the tests back into the people's hands that need them right away. And we all know the stories out there of children that can't get tests fast enough, so they have to isolate, their children have to isolate, and it's closing down our education system right now, and it's just not acceptable. So I want to get your thoughts right now. Please, wherever you're watching this, type in and tell me, how would another school lockdown affect you as a parent, as a student, as a teacher? Tell me, what do you think of our current test and trace system and its failures? How can we prevent ourselves from creating a lost generation? And do we need better leadership? And again, just looking for your comments coming in here right now because it's really important to hear from you. And some great comments are coming in here. I really appreciate a lot of you. We've got someone on YouTube that says, "Brian, hurry up and become the mayor, then the prime minister." Okay, look, I appreciate your thoughts and I appreciate the support. And look, you bring up a great point. I've been complaining about the problems that we've had here in London and the UK and the world the past 7 months, and opposed to me just giving you problems, I'm giving you solutions. And that's why I decided about 10 days ago to run for mayor here. We plan on running, we plan on winning, and together with your help, I plan on changing this city and showing the whole world that we can get a city back to work, we can make a proportionate response to the virus, and we can use science-based protocols to get our city working again. I think London can be the model for every city in the entire world. I think we can show New York City how to do it, Los Angeles how to do it, Tokyo how to do it, Cape Town how to do it, Paris, Madrid, and that's what I plan to do as your next mayor of London. We've got Jacone on Instagram saying, "The best job for you is London mayor. You are a real American and a Londoner." I really appreciate that. It really means a lot that you're giving us this support. We've got Dave over here on social media says, "Brian for mayor." I really appreciate that. Renee on Instagram says, "Happy anniversary." I appreciate you. 9 years we've been doing this in the game, and I really appreciate you being here. It really means a lot. Neil Bird Life says, quote, "You're doing great, Brian. You're generating hope for us all. Keep moving forward. I appreciate you." Jamie from Instagram says, "Thanks for the great work you're doing, spreading awareness and encouraging open debate." Zia on Instagram says, "As a teacher, this is beyond devastating." And Zia, I really appreciate you. Thank you for your service to our young people. You know, I drop my son Caden off at school every morning, and I can tell these teachers, they're working, but they're under stress. And I can tell they're not getting the support we need from our government. And I salute you for getting our children back to school. It's so important. It's so important for my wife. You know, it's so important for me to have structure for our students and to have my son Caden in school. He loves school, and it's such an important part of his life. A couple more here. Sarah Lynn on Instagram says, "The whole world needs better leadership." I couldn't agree. And Anthony Constant on YouTube says, "We all need to turn off your TV and quit listening to fear." It's so true. The mainstream media and the government have you conditioned to fear, and the problem is it leads to poor decision making. We need new leaders to step up here, and honestly, I think we really need better leadership. It sounds so simple, but that's what we need. We need our mayors and our prime ministers to step up and offer solutions and offer these test and trace systems back, offer better COVID testing, and offer solutions to get us back to work, and that's what I'm calling for today. Next, I want to make my second point here, and this is a point that I really want you to pay attention to, because I want to ask you a question. Will our schools be forced to close again? And the ugly truth is they are closing down right now as we speak. They are already closing. And when you look at data, you find out that that's true. Head teachers have now said from all across the UK that schools are being forced to close right now because so few tests are available and the system is chaotic and it's ground to a halt. They warn of, quote, school lockdown by default, and they have written to Boris Johnson begging him to resolve the situation. This means that right now, 412,000 students in England, 412,000 students were off school last week for coronavirus-related reasons. Our schools are already closing down. And if you go in further, you realize that 355,000 of those students were self-isolating due to potential contact with the case. That means they were waiting to get a test back so they could try to get back in school. 500,000 students nearly are not going to school. So we have effectively created a de facto closing of schools. So the government is saying how it's important to keep education open, but by not providing us the tests, they've effectively closed down schools for 500,000 students. This is unacceptable. And this is what I say to our current mayor, and this is what I say to our prime minister. And if you go deeper on some of these numbers, they're shocking. And you can see these on the screen, and these really, they make my heart drop. 50% week-on-week increase in the number of schools that have shut down completely in this country. A 50% increase. At this rate, by winter, it's going to be devastating for our children. But it goes even further. 1 in 10 schools in England are currently partially closed as of last week due to improper testing results. And finally, the number of secondary schools open has slumped from 82% down to 79%. My daughter goes to one of these schools. She's 16 years old, and she is devastated. She sent me a text message a few weeks ago saying, I'm really worried that my school is going to be shut down. Her GCSE exams were canceled last year. She's studying for her A-levels. She wants to go to school. That's the thing. Our younger generation wants to go to school. My son asked me on a Saturday, when can I go to school? Why can't I go to school? Our children crave these pieces in their daily structure. They want to learn. They want to get out there and make a difference. And yet we are not giving them the opportunity. This is a real crisis. This really has me concerned. But it goes even further, because the campaign of fear that our government and mainstream media, the campaign of fear that they waged on our citizens over the past few months is now having a knock-on effect into our schools. And if you look at this bar chart, this is massively alarming, because 17% of our parents are seriously considering keeping their children away from school because of COVID-related fear. You can see this table here. 6% of them very seriously, 11% of them fairly seriously, 17% not very seriously, but still considering it. This is a failure of the message that we put out there, and this goes back to leadership. And this is when I have to call out our current mayor and our current prime minister and the current crop of politicians with their vested interests and their corporate interests that are stopping us from getting back to work, creating a proportionate response to this virus, and using science-based decision-making. I am massively concerned about this, and this is why we really need to think about the science and look at some of these numbers. I'm concerned because the secondary schools are going to drop from 82% to 79%, maybe to 70, 60, 50% before our schools are closing down and almost completely shutting. I'm very worried about this, and I want to get your feedback. So again, if you're following me, please tell me, how would another school lockdown affect you? Because we might be completely locked down by year end at this rate. Next, what do you think of our current test and trace system? And finally, how can we prevent creating a lost generation? And honestly, tell me, do you think we need better leadership? Wherever you are right now watching us, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, tell me how you feel, and some great comments coming in here, and I really appreciate all of them. John Paul Jordan says, quote, better leadership is definitely needed. Problem is, when there's someone capable of leading us in the right direction, they getting up, moved to the House of Lords, so they can't run for prime minister, and I appreciate that, John Paul. You're probably referring to our guest yesterday, Lord Michael Farmer. We were seriously honored and privileged to have that gentleman here in the studio yesterday, streaming live, and he has been working tirelessly to try to keep the family structure together in this country, potentially saving £50 billion by doing that. through less crime, through less resources by the government. I appreciate you calling that out, John. Corey says, quote, "It would break my heart to have my daughter have to go through any more isolation and discrimination." And I completely agree. And John via YouTube says, quote, "Brian Rose for mayor." I really appreciate that as well. And Tatiana says, "We need better leadership. I'm a professional dancer and a teacher too. Closing schools down is closing education and closing freedom." And I appreciate those comments. And I want to just make my final point here, and that is the one that I've been talking about now for a week or two. And it's some disturbing numbers that have recently come out from the Prince's Trust. And they surveyed 2,000 of people aged 16 to 25 across the UK. And the charity said that action was needed to prevent us creating a quote unquote lost generation. And when I think about that phrase, it brings me sadness. A lost generation. Our generation of young people are our future. These are the children that are going to create the economies, that are going to take care of you and me when we are old and incapable. And yet, what are we doing to this generation? Well, when you look at the numbers, and I'll put them on screen here, it's sad and it's very sobering. 44% of 16 to 25-year-olds in the UK said they had lower aspirations for the future because of the lockdown. 41% of young people believe their future goals now seem impossible to achieve. Worse than that, it goes up to 50% for children from poorer backgrounds. 38% feel they will never succeed in life. 38%. That's a shocking statement. It makes me sad to think about these people and their futures. I never felt that way as a child. I felt like the world had possibilities. And finally, that last number, 43% of young people say, I'll never have a job I really love. The worst thing is that goes to 55% for children coming from poorer backgrounds. Imagine never believing you're going to have a job that you really love. This is a travesty that we're creating a generation that is not optimistic about our future. As I said, when I was a child, I thought the future was bright. You know, I told my mom I wanted to be an astronaut. I wanted to be, president of the United States. And she said, you can do anything you put your mind to. My mom always said that. And that's what I've always told my children. And for them to think different, it's a travesty, and it's something that we should all take ownership for, and our leadership should listen to this now. Shame on you for not providing our educational institutions the testing, the tracing that they deserve to make sure that our young people have every opportunity possible to go to school, to learn, to find the jobs that they love and contribute to the world and these great countries and great cities that we all live in. This is really a massive travesty, and it's something that just makes me really, really sad to see this happening. And again, back to that Nelson Mandela quote, education, it's the most powerful weapon which you can choose to change the world. Any child in the world right now with a proper education can grow up to do anything they want. They could be the next Elon Musk. They could be the next Steve Jobs. They could be, the next Richard Branson. They could do anything they want in this world, but they're lacking that chance with the education. And so let me get your final thoughts here and tell me, how, in your opinion, would another school down affect you? What do you think of our current test and trace system? And again, how can we prevent creating a lost generation? And finally, what can we do to change this leadership? That's really what I want to hear from you. And again, so many comments coming in. I can barely track them all. And I really appreciate people taking the time here to go on social. It really means a lot to me that you're engaging with this, because it's something that it just goes to my heart so much. Susan from IG suggests more lockdowns will create greater stress, depression, and increased potential for suicides. It's true. Our mental health is crucial here. That's why I want to get London back to work. I want to get our kids in school. I want to make a proportional response to the virus, and I want to use science-based decision-making. Corey Blake on YouTube says, when Brian was talking about his dad, it made me want to cry. It's so true. I think about my parents. I think about my grandparents. And I think about my children, and I really want the best for them. Some great support from me, and I really appreciate that. CG Jones says, the best, Brian for mayor. Thank you so much. Life on Viaggio says, Brian for mayor. I appreciate that. Matt Jason on IG says, become mayor of London and let's change the world. And look, the only reason I decided to stand for mayor is because I feel like I have to do this. I feel like I can't live with myself if I don't step up and try to take the action. And don't get me wrong, I know it will be the hardest job I ever have. but I'm willing to forego the rest of my life for 3 years. I'm willing to put everything I do here that I love aside because I can't see anybody willing to do this job. And I can't sit idly by while our current crop of politicians runs this city into the ground. 9 million people. Our leaders should represent our interests. Their job is to listen and serve. And our leaders do the opposite. They serve themselves. They serve them getting reelected. That's all they seem to do, and it's driven me crazy, which is why I am running for mayor. More comments coming here. Laurette from YouTube says, I'm a music teacher, and another school lockdown would leave me without work. I am not eligible for any furlough schemes. I think the children benefit hugely from face-to-face lessons instead of online. I couldn't agree with you more. We've got to get our children back in school. We've got to give them every opportunity to do so, which means the government needs to step up, get the testing done, use the science, and again, stop with this campaign of fear. More comments coming here. Sarah on IG says, I'm a teacher. Kids cannot learn social skills and a lot of other personal skills online, and I agree with you totally. My son, Caden, spent his first 5 or 6 weeks here at school. It's dramatically changed his personality. His language skills have gone up. He's kinder and gentler to his brother. That's real talk. And I can't wait to get him back, actually. He's off now for a week or two, and he's going to be back. Sarah Lynn goes on to say, my son wants to go to school. They need it for their development. It's terrible how much fear they have used. And from Instagram, we've got someone that says, my kids cry every day at being home schooled. It's too frustrating. They need to be in school. I cannot agree with you. More, and a couple other comments here. Anthony Hall from Instagram says, I agree with Brian. Another lockdown will just affect so many businesses. Boris Johnson doesn't know what he's doing, and it changes every single day. Look, a lot of comments on Instagram indicate, quote, I feel this generation is being left behind. They are being neglected, and it just really makes me sad. Which is why education first is one of my 8 key policies as your next mayor of London. And again, you can learn more about my policies at brianformayor.london. I've got them all scoped out there, and I'll be going into more detail on each one of my education policies. But the truth is this, the last 9 years of my life, I have spent educating the world. I have spoken to 1,000 of the greatest minds in the world sitting in this chair, them having opposite me. We have streamed out content that's been watched 500 million times. We've done this all for free. All for free. You can access right now via our social channels, YouTube, our website. So I have been in the education business for 9 years. But more than that, I also set up the London Real Academy almost 6 years ago. And I've graduated 5,000 students from 107 countries, and I've taught them business. I've taught them broadcasting. I've taught them public speaking. I've taught them life skills to make better communities, to help them build better businesses, make better families, and just better worlds out there. So education is my business. I understand this. And I think you can constantly be learning. But right now, I want to focus on getting our kids back to school. I want to remove the fear. I want to support our teachers who are doing the hardest work out there. We need better science. We need better testing. We need better tracing. But more importantly than that, we need leadership. We need leaders that want to give us possibilities. We need leaders with optimism. We need leaders with solutions. We don't need leaders that fearmonger in order to scare you to get your vote so they can go on and perpetuate their vested interest, their interests in themselves and being elected. We need new blood. We need people who look at things in an entrepreneurial point of view. And we need people that really can get the science working and have a proportionate response to the virus. Don't get me wrong. I want to protect our most vulnerable, but I want to get our kids back to school. I want to get our city back to work. I want to put science first, again, a proportional response to the virus, and put education and health first so we can get everyone back. Everyone knows this. Everyone wants to see this result, and I do as well. So I want to finish and thank you all for tuning in. It's so important. Thank you for being on these social channels. Please leave your comments below and tell me what you think. Come and show your support going to brianformayor.london and really show us your support. I really need your support in going for this. We've got 9 million incredible people here in the City of London, and I am here to listen and I am here to serve. And again, we want to be a beacon of hope for cities all around the world. So honestly, I need your support wherever you are in this world. I could use your support on social. I could use your support on our website. And I really think that if we can show the world that we can elect a mayor that wants to get their city back to work, that wants to put science first, that wants to make a proportionate response to the virus, that wants to put our health first, that wants to put education first, that wants to fight for freedom of speech, which is what we've been doing here for the past 7 months, so the best ideas can be openly debated and rise to the top. If we can do that, I think we can change the world starting right here in London. I believe it with all my heart, and that's why we are moving forward, full throttle, full steam ahead, to go ahead and become the next mayor of London, put these policies in place. But I can't do it alone. I'm going to need your help along the way. And honestly, once elected, I'm going to need your help as well. I'm going to need the citizens of London and everyone around the world to do the hard work, to step up and be leaders in your own families, in your own businesses, in your own communities, and to show the world that we can live without fear, that we can make intelligent decisions and get everyone back to work and just get the whole human race back on track. So I'm super excited. Thank you so much for the support. I get all of your individual messages. I've got some great messages from people all around the world. I see you. I'm reposting your stuff on all my social media channels. Follow us on YouTube, on Instagram, on Facebook. You know, a lot of times out there, these networks are trying to shadow ban us. They're trying to keep a lot of our messages. You have to look for us sometimes. So I appreciate you sharing our videos and sharing our stuff with your friends, because a lot of our stuff just won't be seen because we are counter to the mainstream narrative and that of our governments until we become the government and show the world how it's done. So thank you so much. I will be broadcasting these Real Deals every Friday right around this same time. So leave your comments below. I'll be watching them, and we'll continue to talk about the things that are important to me and important to you for our future. For now, let's get our children back to school. Let's put education first, and let's make sure we do not have a lost generation. Thank you so much. As always, I'm here to be of service, and I look forward to seeing you next time on London Real. Thank you. At London Real, we believe that individual transformation can change the world. Join us and start your journey today.